It's about time for another microphone test on my channel. I'm very excited. Today I will basically show you everything I have, and I hope that by the end of this video you know which kind of microphone suits you the best. We will compare a condenser mic, the Rode NT1 Siganture Series, not one but two dynamic mics, the Shure SM7B and the Shure SM57, a shotgun mic, the Deity S-Mic 2, an on-camera mic, the Sennheiser MKE400, a lavalier mic, the Hollyland Lark M2, and also a field recorder, the Zoom H6. I can tell you that when I was looking for microphones back in the day, I would have loved a video like that, so that's why I am creating the video today. And after we compared everything in the end, hopefully you know what microphone you need. But before we start, a small disclaimer, and that is that you can make most microphones work in most situations. Sure, something like a lavalier mic, like the Hollyland Lark M2, which I have right here on my chest. Well, this is way more versatile than something like this right here, the Rode NT1 Siganture Series, because this one you cannot go out with and you cannot, run around with this one. This is way too sensitive for that kind of stuff. It would be a mess. This one is way more versatile. But you can use this one indoors, for example, for a talking head video. You can also use this one for a talking head video. You can create a podcast with this one, but you can also create a podcast with the Hollyland Lark M2. I know it's a stretch, but you could do it in theory. So take a look at what you have already maybe and see how you can use what you have to create what you want to create. And if there's no way around, maybe then consider buying something new. Okay, for this video I have thought, how can I categorize all the microphones I have? And I've come up with two categories. The first one is on-screen microphones and the second one is off-screen microphones. I think it explains itself. On-screen microphones are, for me, microphones that you can see on screen. And off-screen microphones, of course, are microphones that you cannot see, that are off-screen. On-screen microphones, I consider something like this, the Rode NT1 Siganture Series, or this, the Shure SM7B, and also the lavalier mic. Of course, you can hide the lavalier mic, but if you hide the mic beneath your clothing, for example, the sound of the microphone can be a little bit more muffled. You have to decide if this is okay for you. I'm a little bit more on the side of best audio quality, so I have it outside of my clothing, and therefore I consider this one an on-screen mic. Something like the Deity S-Mic 2, usually you are not able to see that. Right now I have it in the frame, just so you see the microphone and know what I'm talking about. Normally you would place something like the Deity S-Mic 2 outside of the frame so that you cannot see the microphone. So having defined the Rode NT1 Siganture Series, the Shure SM7B and the Hollyland Lark M2 as on-screen microphones, let's start to compare the differences. Let's start with the Shure SM7B. Everyone knows the Shure SM7B. It's a legendary microphone, and for good reason. First of all, it looks great on camera. And a lot of the time, to get good audio, you need your camera on screen. And this microphone just looks kind of good. I know there are some people that don't like the looks of this microphone, or that don't like a microphone on screen at all. But I think if you need a microphone on screen, this one here is one of the best contenders. It looks pretty good, especially compared to something like this. This is a condenser microphone. This is the Rode NT1 Siganture Series, like I already said. And this microphone is way more sensitive to everything, basically. If I touch the arm, if I touch the microphone itself, you can basically hear that. And the Shure SM7B is a microphone that is not that sensitive to touching, for example. I can touch the microphone itself, I can touch the stand. You can maybe hear it a little bit, but most of those sounds are rejected and you cannot hear them with this microphone. So it's easier to handle this microphone. It's not easier to operate this microphone. It's also more expensive to operate this microphone, but it's easier to handle the microphone. With something like the Rode NT1 Siganture Series, you may need a shock mount, you need a pop filter, you also need a room that is at least somewhat treated. In theory, you should have more room echo, more noise from the room and so on, maybe more noise from the street as well, if you're living like me close to a big street, because this microphone just picks up way more stuff than the Shure SM7B picks up, you know. This one rejects a lot of noise and really focuses on your voice, basically. But I personally think that the Rode right here, it sounds a little bit better with my voice, especially for something like voiceover. I think this microphone is, you know, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Of course, with both of those microphones, you need an audio interface. With the Shure SM7B, if you do not want to operate this at maximum gain all the time, because this is a quite gain-hungry microphone, you need a preamp, basically. Something like the Cloud Lifter is very famous, but I use the Triton Audio Fethead, which is also a preamp, and works pretty good, pretty fine. I'm very happy with it. And now I can use this microphone, but it's very cost intensive, you know. This, to operate the Shure SM7B, like I have it right here with the Audio Triton Fethead and my audio interface on the computer, it costs around 700 to 800 euros or dollars, depending on which currency you use. So it's pretty expensive to operate this thing right here. The Rode NT1 Siganture Series, on the other hand, costs $160 or euros. It comes with the shock mount, with the pop filter. The only thing you need is an arm, which is not that expensive. You need an XLR cable, which is basically also included in the box, so you already have that. But you need an audio interface with phantom power, which is not that expensive, 100 euros. So basically at around 400 euros, 300 to 400 euros, depending on what audio interface you buy and what arm you buy, you can operate this microphone and have this sound right here. But then again, you have this on screen, right? If you are just doing voiceovers, this microphone is perfect. But if you have your microphone on screen, maybe something like the Shure SM7B or another dynamic microphone, for example, the Shure SM57, which I can switch to in a second, is better for that. So right here, just so you heard the difference, this is the Shure SM57, which is also a dynamic microphone. It has basically, I think, the same capsule as the Shure SM7B, as this one right here, but, you know, it's not that expensive. It sounds a little bit different, but still pretty good. This is a legendary microphone. It costs 100 euros or $100. The only thing that you have to live with if you buy this microphone is that you need a stand to put it somewhere, or you have to use it like I am using it right now, handheld, which is okay, fine. I've used this microphone in the past to create videos. You can watch into my video catalog and see which videos are made with this microphone. If we would compare the Shure SM57 to the Rode NT1 Siganture Series, this right here is the Shure SM57, and this right here is the Rode NT1 Siganture Series, a legendary microphone in itself, but this right here is also legendary. Everything I have basically is legendary. So first important thing you have to decide for yourself, if you want an on-screen mic like the Shure SM7B or the Rode NT1 Siganture Series, do you want a dynamic microphone because your room may be not that well treated, or do you want something like this, the Rode NT1 Siganture Series, which is a condenser microphone which picks up more of your voice, more sibilance also, but also more noise from outside, for example, or from your room itself. If you, for example, use the microphone besides your computer and the fan is always blowing, this microphone will pick that up. This microphone, not so much. You know, this video is unscripted, so I'm very sorry if it's a little bit chaotic, but I hope that you still enjoy all the different microphones tested against each other. If you do not want to deal with XLR and audio interfaces, which is, it's not that complicated, but you have to, you know, figure your way out eventually with this kind of stuff. If this is not for you, you can buy something like this. This is the Shure MP7. It's a dynamic microphone and it's USB powered. I think there's a second version of this on the market at the moment, which is with USB-C. This one is with micro USB, so I'm not a big fan of micro USB. But the microphone in general is pretty good and you do not have to deal with XLR and stuff like that. Would I recommend it? It depends. Well, if you are a one-man show and you definitely do not plan on getting a second microphone in the future, you can use something like this. The problem is, if you have a USB microphone, on most computers, you can only operate one USB microphone at the time. So if you want to record two microphones, it's just not possible. So I would recommend to invest and buy an audio interface and then buy an XLR microphone. Although, if you are not sure, you can also buy a microphone like that. Most of the microphones that are USB microphones also have an XLR input, like you see right here, like the Shure MV7. So if you in the future think, oh, well, you know, actually, I want a second microphone, well, then you can buy yourself an audio interface and operate the Shure MV7 in this case as well through XLR. So this is also possible. Something like the Rode NT1 Siganture Series, you can also buy this microphone as a USB version. I know that there is one out there. I think it's a little bit more expensive. And again, I would not necessarily recommend it because you still have to invest in an arm, and the costs for an audio interface, a small, a cheap one that works with this microphone, are probably the costs that you pay more for the USB version of this microphone. So yeah, you have to think about that. But again, you can only use one microphone then. This what I do right here with switching between the microphones, it's way more complicated if you have a USB microphone. That's why I am at the moment not testing the Shure MV7, because it's way more complicated to also test this with all of that. But then we also have another microphone. We have the Hollyland Lark M2, which I have right here. This is a lavalier mic, something completely different. It's a microphone that basically you stick to your clothing and it is on you, so it moves with you. You can basically walk around while you have this one on. With those microphones, with the Shure SM7B and with the Rode NT1, you cannot move around. It's not really possible. This one you can use outside, you can put a windscreen on top of it. So this microphone is by far the most versatile microphone you can buy for your potential YouTube channel that you're building up. With this on, I can, for example, stand up and walk around, and you can still hear me great. I can probably go even into my kitchen. Right now I am in my kitchen. And if I come back into my living room, this is how it sounds. You will probably hear myself pretty well the whole time. And yeah, this is the fantastic thing about such a mic. You can be as far away from the camera as you want, basically, and it will sound as if you are in front of the camera. So the use cases for a lavalier mic are plenty. You can use it for film productions. You can use it for interviews. You can use it for talking head videos like that. You can use it for vlogging. You can basically use it for everything that you can imagine. For example, if I hold the microphone in my hand like that, I think you can easily produce your podcast with this. The sound of the microphone is way better than if it is under my chin, on top of my chest. This microphone, very flexible. You can do a lot of stuff with it. I think the main rival to this microphone is the on-camera microphone. And I do not mean the inbuilt microphone of your camera. No, I mean the microphone that you can put on top of your camera. In my case, it's the Sennheiser MKE400, and it's one of my most favorite mics of all time. I use this microphone for most productions on my YouTube channel. It's tailored specifically for talking head, basically. Also, of course, you can take your camera and move around with your camera. That is 100% possible. And the microphone will still, of course, still pick up your voice because you're still close to the camera. If you buy the microphone, there's a wind shoe in the box, so you can put this one on and you can go outside with this microphone. It's a great microphone. Of course, if you're outdoors, it will gain way more attention than something like a lavalier mic on your body. You know, the camera itself probably will gain your attention outside, but if you also on top of the camera have a big microphone that sticks out, maybe this is something that you are not comfortable with. So you have to, you know, go in yourself and think about, do I want to use an on-camera mic outside, or do I want to use something like a lavalier mic outside? Maybe this one is the better option for you. The only problem with this microphone is, of course, that it sticks on top of your camera, so you will get the best results if you're close to the camera. If you go further away from the camera, it will pick up a lot more of your room, and, for example, compared to the lavalier mic on my chest, if I only go back 2 meters, I'm now 2 meters away from the camera, the lavalier mic will sound way better than the MKE400 on top of my camera, just simply because of the distance. Now, standing back here, we can also test the MKE400, the sound of this, to the sound of the Rode NT1 Siganture Series, which is 1 meter away from me. Probably this microphone picks up a lot of the room. And again, compared to the Hollyland Lark M2, this right here, in this case, if you want to move around the camera, around the room while you're recording, something like this, a lavalier mic, would be the best choice for you. Also, an off-screen microphone that a lot of YouTubers are using is something like this, a shotgun microphone. They position it, of course, outside the frame so you cannot see it, but this is how it would look like. You position the microphone outside the frame, pointed towards your mouth, and that's basically it. Problem with that, in my experience, is that shotgun microphones operated in a room can be quite tricky, and you basically need a well-treated room so that they sound the best. The problem that I have with a shotgun microphone is that I think it's quite tricky to operate. It's not that trivial, you know, it's you have to know what you're doing and you need a well-treated room. Those microphones are meant for film productions, so basically on a film set, in the best case, everyone knows what they are doing. If you, for example, just want to create YouTube videos and you're not a professional filmmaker, and I'm definitely not a professional filmmaker, something like that is maybe a little bit overkill and a little bit hard to set up so that it sounds good. One thing we haven't talked about yet is this right here. This is the Zoom H6. It's a field recorder which can also record by itself. And this is how this one sounds. You can also use this. It's battery powered. In my case right now, I use it via plug and play. So I've connected it to a power source. But you can also use this field recorder with batteries. I think it holds up for 2 or 3 hours with batteries if you're recording the whole time. And this has a stereo capsule on top of the recorder. I think it sounds pretty good actually. I like the sound of this. It's a little bit tricky because also here you have a lot of the, you hear a lot of the handling noise, which I don't really enjoy. But other than that, it's a great device to have. For example, if you want to create podcasts, if you want to create a podcast on the go, something like this is great. Not necessarily to, use it as a microphone, but you have 4 inputs and you can connect 4 microphones to those inputs. And then you basically can buy something like this right here, like the Shure SM57. You can buy 2 or 3 of those, connect them to your device, and you're good to go with a podcast. You can invite friends and have a podcast, for example. So therefore, something like this, a field recorder, is pretty handy if this is what you want to do. It's also pretty handy if you're on the go. You can basically use something like this. You can use a Shure SM7B and connect it to something like this in the forest, for example. And then you can record in the forest with a Shure SM7B in your hand, which is a little bit ridiculous, but you could, in theory, make it work. And I know there are YouTube channels that make such things work. It's a vibe, I have to say. It's a vibe. Maybe let's do a little recap. So most versatile, I would say, for YouTube videos is the Hollyland Lark M2. If you really want to dig deep into music production, something like the Rode NT1 Siganture Series or the Shure SM7B maybe is the better option. If you want to go into film productions, something like a shotgun mic may be the best option for you because you can also make it work for YouTube. It's just a little bit more hustle in my opinion. And then of course we have the microphone on top of your camera, which is the classical Casey Neistat YouTube look basically. Those microphones work great for what they are built, So also a great option there. Okay, a lot of talking, a lot of telling you stories about what you can use different microphones for. I hope that myself in post-production could make sense of it all. I'm very sorry if it was a little bit chaotic. I really wanted to do this video. It's an unscripted video again, so I'm just waffling into the camera right here. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I would really appreciate a like, because it's kind of a hustle to record 50 audio inputs at the same time, I have to say. So yeah, a like would be appreciated. If you want to see more stuff like that, maybe a specific microphone comparison, let me know in the comments. If you have any questions for the things I use, about any specific microphone I use, also let me know in the comments. I will try to answer as fast as possible. And now I wish myself a lot of luck to make sense of what I just talked about for 45 minutes. Whew. I hope to see you in the next video, and stay safe. Oh, quite heavy this one, the Shure SM7B. Okay, stop recording right here and right here. And now let's stop the recording right here. And last but not least, right here. Bye bye.